Very good afternoon, all of you. I'm Dr. Sarika Makol from Sage Group of Institutions. Today, I'm discussing about stress from organization behavior subject. So let us start with the meaning of stress. As you all know, there are two terms which we are normally listening in the world, that is stress and burnout. And this is the talk of the town nowadays because our youngsters who are between the age of 25 to 35 are more in stress rather than the other people of age group from above 40 years. So why they are in stress or what is stress all about, we talk about this in this very particular video lecture. And also I'll tell you about how to manage stress, because stress is everywhere, but the point is how to manage that is much more important than the other things. So let us talk about this stress. First of all, we talk about the meaning of stress. Stress is an adaptive response to an external situation that results in physical, psychological, or behavioral deviations for organizational participants, which means that the physical or psychological demands from the environment causes stress, which are called stressors. So basically, stress is being created by the physical and psychological factors around us, which is created by us only, we can say. Stress arises in the various situations, like stress arises when an individual perceives that the demand from the stressors here means the environment, exceeds the ability of the person to respond. Second, stress as an opportunity when it offers a potential gain, also called eustress. For example, the superior performance that an athlete or stage performer gives in clutch situations. So it is an opportunity for that very particular performer as an athlete, but that creates stress among his mind. Stress is constraint when it prevents you from doing what you desire, which is known as constraint. So, for example, aspiring to own a new Honda City and not being able to mobilize the necessary cash is a constraint for you, which creates stress in your mind. Then another situation is stress is demand. It refers to fear of loss of something desired. If you desire something and you lose it, that also creates stress. That, for example, not receiving desired promotion or increment, that creates stress. So basically, stress is of three types, or we can say that stress arises when you are into any three of these situations. That is stress as opportunity, as constraint, and stress can be created through demand. Now, what is not stress? Stress is not simply anxiety or nervous tension, which we normally take it as stress. Stress need not always be damaging because that gives you competition, or that gives you the motivation to achieve something in life. Stress is not always due to overwork. Stress cannot be avoided because everywhere you have to perform. So performance, sometimes we take it as a performance pressure, we take it as a stress, which is not. Body has limited capacity to respond. So these things cannot, these situation or these things or these areas, we cannot call it as stress, which we normally misinterpret it with stress. Whereas these are the only situations which can be handled easily, which are being created by us human beings because we are not we don't want to do the work up to that very particular level. Now, see what is the relationship between stressors and stress. Stressors is basically the environment around us which creates the stress among the individual. So see the diagram which shows stressors and stress, and also the factors which creates this relationship. The stress being created by the person or individual person because of his or her own perception, his or her own personal past experience, and the social support which he or she is getting, then the individual differences which he or she is facing. So it can be different from person to person. So the level of stress can be different from one person to another person because of these above factors, that is perception, past experience, social support, individual differences. Then this is the model again, which shows you that what is stress. Now see, we'll read this model. Person confronted with these three situations, which I've already told you in my previous slide, that is opportunity to perform, demand to perform, and constraints. When these three things mix together, it creates stress. So fulfilling this demand, which is important but which is uncertain, which creates stress. Now, stress manifests itself in three areas, which gives you disturbance in these three areas, that is physiological, psychological, and behavioral. What is physiological? Your blood sugar going to increase, wear and tear of your body. Then psychological, your low job satisfaction, lower confidence, poor performance because of that kind of stress, which is being created by you yourself. Then what are the changes in your behavior? You start drinking, smoking, changes in eating habits. Now see, this can also not be the same with every person. This can be different with person to person, because as we are saying in the previous slide, that stress level is individual basis, which is different from one person to another person, and the level of stress is also definitely different from one person to another person. Some persons will create stress themselves and manifest it, and also just leads to burnout, whereas some can handle that very nicely. Now, factors affecting the level of stress, which I was just talking about, felt by an individual. These are the various factors. These are the three factors which creates or which distinguish the level of stress from one person to another. That is importance, uncertainty, and duration. What is importance? How significant that event is to the individual creates the level or degree of stress. If the event is very, very important to the particular individual, the stress level will be high. Otherwise, moderate, or if it is not that much important, or nothing to be affect through that very event, that is low level of stress. Uncertainty, the lack of clarity about what will happen. If the uncertainty is more, the level of stress will be high. If it is less, the level of stress will be low. The length of time of special demands. If the length of time of special demand is longer, then it creates a high level of stress, otherwise low level of stress. So these are the various factors which decides the level of stress felt by an individual. Now, another sources of stress are, which can be shown through this diagram. Now see, these are the potential sources on the left hand side, and outcome is on the right hand side. And in between, I have mentioned certain moderating variables which can variate these outcome from one person to another. So now see the potential sources. I have categorized it into three parts: individual level, organizational level, group level, and environmental factors. So these are the various sources of stress. So first of all, individual level. Role overload, role conflict, role ambiguity, then your personality. If you are not having a positive attitude, then you might get stressed very easily. Then what are the organizational factors which creates stress? That is organizational climate, organizational structure, that is hierarchy, and the leadership over there, as well as the life cycle which is being followed in that very particular organization, can also create stress among the people. Then at the group level, the behavior of the managers, lack of cohesiveness, if the work is not being clear to the juniors, then intra-group conflicts between the various groups or various departments, status differentiation, then in some of the organization, there can be the reason of sexual harassment, then workplace violence. So these can also be the reasons to create stress among the people. Then there are certain environmental factors also which create stress, that is economic uncertainty, political uncertainty, technological uncertainty, and family. So these are the environmental factors which create stress among the people. Now, what is the outcome of this stress? It categorized, or it can be divided into four types, or four types of outcome can be there: physiological, psychological, behavioral, or cognitive. First of all, physiological, if we talk about that, that is headaches, high blood pressure, heart disease, burnout due to stress. Anxiety, depression, decrease in job satisfaction are the psychological symptoms. Behavioral symptoms can be productivity low, absenteeism will be high, turnover will be high, accidents will be high because you are not concentrated towards your work, so your behavior has been changed due to that stress level. In cognitive at part, it is poor decision making, lack of concentration, and forgetfulness is also the outcome of high stress. What are the moderating variables which decides the level? That is perception, past experience, social support, individual differences, which I have just explained you in my previous slide. So this is all about the potential sources of stress as well as the outcome of stress on the individual's health. Now, this is something difference between stress and versus burnout. Burnout is the extreme situation of stress. Now, see what is stress and burnout. The person feels fatigued in the case of stress. The person is anxious. The person is dissatisfied with his or her job. The person feels moody. The person undergoes physiological changes in case of stress. But burnout is very serious situation in which the individual encounters chronic exhaustion. The individual is hypertensive. So we should try our level best that we should not move further the level of stress. We should take care of ourselves between that very level only and try to handle their stress, how try to manage their stress so that that should not be converted into burnout situation. Now the next is how can we manage the stress, which is very very important part of this very particular topic. That stress is everywhere that we have discussed till now. So now how can we manage this stress? So the first and the foremost thing to manage this stress is do time management. If you manage your time properly, so there is no stress. Stress is what? Stress is just when you are not able to do your work on time. If you just linger on your work, or if you just delay your work without one any reason, so that creates stress, because that at that time your work will be piled up and you will be in the stress. Then physical exercise or some meditation exercises, some yoga can also give you relief. Then relaxation training like meditation training nowadays, it's being done by many of the people, so that can be done. Social support means that you have your friends through, with whom you can discuss your problems and get motivation from them. So these are the ways to manage your stress. This is basically the individual stress management. Then another is how to manage organizational stress, which is the most common topic nowadays. But I could say that if you can manage your individual stress, so it would be easier for you to manage the organizational stress, because it can also be created because of your personal behavior. So if you are not stressed personally, or if you have that kind of a guts to manage that stress, you can easily manage this organizational stress. So for that, these are the various techniques, or these are the various strategies to manage such kind of stress. One is goal setting. One should know what is the goal of their career. So if you are focused, so you can direct yourself to that very particular goal, and there is no point to have to get in stress. Then job redesigning, you can redesign your job profile. Involvement of the employee should be there. Selection and placement should be done very carefully. There should be wellness programs in the organization, which are already being done by various organizations. There should be proper communication between employer and employee, so that there should not be any stone there should not be any space of any misunderstandings between employer and employee, because that mostly creates stress among the employees. So these are the various stress management strategies. So that's all for the day. And this is all about stress and how to manage the stress. So I suppose you all have understood the concept of stress and stress management.